going to do a quick walkthrough demo of designing a space. What space shall I design? Any ideas?
Something small.
What's the function in that space?
Eating.
Eating. An eating place. Cooking place or just an eating place?
Both.
So I need to cook in it too and eat.
Yeah.
How many people do I need to serve?
3.
3 people. So I'm really glad you said eating. An eating place and not a dining place. Have you read The Hand Sculpted House? For those of you who haven't, one of the things that we try not to do is we try not to design around a noun. We try not to say kitchen, dining room, bedroom. We end up doing those things anyway, but it's good. It's a good exercise to try not. Because when you use a word like dining room, you get this image in your head of every dining room you've ever seen before. And that image will guide your design towards that. And it's not necessarily going to make the best space for you, right? What you want is the best space for you. Something that fits the way you work and the way you live, more like a glove, so that you can small the building and still get everything you want out of it. I might need to move. Might need to move over there in the sun. I'm going to move over. I want to enter the house, or enter the space. I need to enter. And there's a natural path here that kind of comes from the road, and it moves along this way, and it goes on down. And this is a public space, I'm imagining. It's kind of a place where the 3 of us are going to get together and have meals on a regular basis. We're probably not living in the room necessarily, but we're going to eat here together. And so I could place the door in an inviting position, which would be facing the path with maybe a nice color on it that says come in. If it's a private space, I might face the door out of the way, back over here someplace. And so when you walk up the path, you don't see an entrance. You don't see a way in. Maybe there's a path that goes around the building. But that building says, leave me alone, right? Like if you go into the buildings and you look at where the mud hut is versus the Huckleberry Hut, right? The Huckleberry Hut has its back to the common areas. Its door is actually facing a little common courtyard of its own. So from where you are at the dining space out there in the kitchen area, beside the kitchen area, you can't see the front door of that, and it's telling you this is a private place. But the mud hut, when you walk past, out into the other public spaces, like the fire pit area, the door is facing that. The door says, yeah, come on in, or at least knock, right? So I'm going to make a public space that says come right on in. So I'm going to put a doorway right about here. I'll just set this end of the rope down to represent the doorway. Okay, I'm going to mark the interior of the space. The exterior lines of the walls we'll take care of later if we need them. So I'm going to walk up the path, and I'm going to grab the door. Yeah. I'm going to open it. I'm opening it this way. Okay. And it's a shoes off area. I'm going to make a seating area here. A little nook that I can sit in, maybe put my back in the corner, take my shoes off. Might have a wooden seat on it so I can tuck my shoes underneath the wooden seat. That's a cool idea. I like that. Then, what am I going to do next? Came in with a sack full of groceries, right? I'm going to probably set that down over there. I'm going to work my way around the building this way, right? But just imagining, I'm going to come in, and I got an armload of groceries. It's a shoes off area. So I got to set them down. I just set my groceries down, and now I'm going to sit down and take my shoes off. Okay, now I can deal with the groceries. And I'm going to take the groceries over here to the place where I put them away. And so here's some cooking space, because I want to get at my stuff and make that food. So I'll come back to that. But then when we're done making the food, I want to sit down someplace nice and eat that food. And there's only 3 of us, right? So when you sit down to eat, it's really nice if you don't have your back to a doorway, because that's uncomfortable. And you don't have your back to, or you don't have a path right through where you are, because that's sort of uncomfortable. So I'm going to make a tight little sitting booth. Might be a little too tight. Get 3 butts in, kind of that might be a little too tight. 3 butts in, sort of facing each other catty corner. And we could, if we wanted to, later pull up a chair and get a 4th person here in the uncomfortable section of the building. All right. So people like to be in dead ends, right? You like to sit with your back against the wall. You like to look into the doorway. You like to be able to look out a little window and maybe see who's coming up the pathway. Right here beside the door, I'll either put a window in the door or maybe a little peep window so I can see that way. This is kind of nice. A nice little sitting area. You can get 1, 2, 3 butts in here, kind of tight. It's a little tight. But I'll stick with it for now. Now I want to think about that kitchen again. Well, unfortunately, what I really want to do when I'm cooking is I want to turn around and I want to face the people that are here in the room with me, and I want to be able to cook and talk over my shoulder. So I actually don't want to be facing this way. I would rather be cooking sort of facing these folks. So I'm gonna expand this cook nook a little bit, sorry man, a little bit this way into this brother's space over here. Go. Okay, and just for now, I will enclose that and call that done. Now, it's tiny, but let's evaluate it for a minute, okay? And using this space, I could put a little sink maybe here. And I could put my fireplace, you know, my little 2-burner cook stove here, and with propane tank on the outside, so that as you come around this corner, you can go over here and change the propane tank out. Little 5-gallon job. Goes through the wall, little 2-burner. Is that comfortable? Yeah, maybe. Sink over here, I can look out while I'm washing dishes. Maybe a window right here. I can see a view that might be there someday. You know, some of this manzanita brush kind of thins out a little bit, and these trees stay, and they kind of get big. Well, that one's going to die, but you can sort of see where I'm going with that. Any questions so far? Does this make sense to you? Make sense to everybody? I acted out all the parts. I made the space with my body. I didn't make too many arbitrary shapes that I then had to go fill. I didn't just make some rectangles. I didn't draw rectangles and say kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, and then try to figure out how to connect them. I said, I'm going to cook like this, and I'm going to sit and take off my shoes, and I'm going to butts around, and I talking about your patterns, your own self, the things that you do. And then, I mean, obviously, there's a lot that needs to be done in this space. There's a lot left to be desired. There's not enough space to store things in the pantry. There's no pantry, right? We have, enough storage space for a couple days of food, maybe tops. I didn't provision enough space for a table, not much. It's a table about this big, with booth seating that you kind of got to scooch around to get out. Or put the table on wheels so you can push the table forward and then stand up and get out. That's the thing to beware of. We do a lot of built-in cob benches. Cob benches don't move. So when you have to get up from the table, something's got to move. Either the table moves, or the chair moves, or you're like booth seating. Booth seating's not. It's a little dissatisfactory. This process can create better spaces for less money, right? Modern architecture, the buildings are designed to look good in photographs. Quite often, the actual functionality of the space within is a secondary thing. Primarily, they're intended to look good in photographs so that the architect's work can end up in a shiny magazine someplace, right? And they can become well known for a good-looking building. Natural building doesn't do that. We're not building for somebody else. We're not building to look good in magazines. We're not building high-end posh mansions. We're trying to create buildings that are accessible to everyone, that anyone can build and make themselves comfortable in. Right? It's sort of the word I'm looking for, a re-indigenization of the building process. Right? The way to do it, or one of the ways to do it, is through a process that looks very much like this. However you go about that. It doesn't have to be a rope, although a good heavy rope is really convenient for this, because you can make nice curves. You could have a friend stand on it, and you can pull them straight if you want. Or put a weight on it, like a rock, and pull it kind of straight. You can make any shape with it. You can do the inside and outside lines of your foundation, and then start to just dig around the edges of that line, and then excavate and pull the rope out of the way as you go. Very, very convenient.